The law affects nearly every aspect of our lives every day. We have laws that deal with crimes, laws that govern activities like driving a car, getting married or divorced, getting a job, wildlife and the environment, possession or ownership of property, and of course, laws that govern the conduct of business. Laws attempt to balance individual rights with our obligations as members of society. They give us rules of conduct that protect our rights and the rights of others. Laws create both rights and duties. The legal system helps us resolve disputes when they arise. There are any number of ways to resolve a legal dispute. We can resolve a dispute by a pistol duel. Whoever lives wins. Trial by combat can be a way to end a dispute. But violent means of resolving disputes can be arbitrary. Allowing anyone to take the law into their own hands can be inequitable. In order for us to coexist in a society that is orderly, we need to know who gets to make the rules and who gets to enforce them. In so doing, we need to know what the rules are and that they exist in advance and that they apply to everybody. But is law the same as justice? This is Lady Justice. This image is used as the personification of the virtues of the moral concept of justice. You'll notice that she is holding scales suspended from one hand upon which the evidence shall be weighed. The scales lack a foundation in order to signify that evidence should stand on its own. In the other hand, she holds a sword. This signifies that justice should be swift and final. And Lady Justice is blindfolded. This blindfold represents that justice must be impartial. It is an ideal that justice should be applied without regard for wealth, power, or status. But law is not the same as justice. Justice is an ethical concept concerned with moral rightness. Justice is an ambitious goal and requires that the laws themselves also be just. It is for this reason that a broader understanding of law requires us to examine who gets to make the rules and how the rules are made. Although justice and law are not the same thing, justice is the ideal and it should follow as a natural consequence of the fair and proper administration of the law. So how do we define the law? Law is commonly understood as the body of rules that are created to regulate conduct and enforced by courts and other government agencies. Notice what this definition does not say. It does not say that law is legislation, although that is one source of law. In this course, we will see that the body of rules is much broader than statutes created by parliaments. Enforceability is a critical component of our definition. There are many rules in society, rules at the gym, rules in my home, the rule that tells me to be quiet in the library. But the difference between those rules and law is that an entire system within government exists to see to the enforcement of the law. It is no surprise that courts are a key part of the judicial system responsible for enforcing the law. A little later on, we will talk about how law can be categorized as public law or private law, and the courts play a major role in both types. But notice that our definition also includes that law is the body of rule that can be enforced by the courts and by other government agencies. Consider just how many laws there are, and now consider how those laws will be enforced. Law enforcement agents are tasked with enforcing the rules within their area of authority. Here we see the law enforcement agents, whether they are police at the federal level like the RCMP or at the provincial level like the OPP or even at the local level such as Windsor Police Services, all playing a role in law enforcement. But look beyond those. Here we see just a sample of government agencies that have law enforcement powers at the federal level. Environment and wildlife enforcement officers, fishery officers, health compliance officers, Canada Post investigators, Canada Food Agency inspectors, Transport Canada inspectors. Agents that enforce the law at the provincial level can include emissions enforcement officers, occupational health and safety inspectors. In fact, consider everything that is licensed. Where there is a licensing requirement, there is an enforcement arm. The liquor inspector, for example, that is responsible for the enforcement of rules regarding a liquor license. At the municipal level, bylaw enforcement officers enforce the rules of the municipality, anything from parking to dog licenses to noise bylaws. Where you see these terms associated with government agencies, boards, commissions, tribunals, inspectors, investigators, officers, there is very commonly some manner of law enforcement function. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. was a highly regarded justice of the United States Supreme Court from 1902 to 1932. One day, Justice Holmes was having lunch with a young lawyer, and afterward, as the judge began to drive off in his carriage, the lawyer, in a sudden onset of enthusiasm, ran after him, crying, "Do justice, sir, do justice!" Justice Holmes stopped the carriage and reproved the young lawyer. "That is not my job. It is my job to apply the law." And so it is. To be continued.